Hello everybody. So this video is a continuation of my previous video where we were talking about how COVID-19 has created a problem in the economy and economies are collapsing, and how I debunked the whole idea by saying it's not COVID-19 that is actually creating any problems. It is what we have developed as an economic structure globally that is the reason for it. And today I'll add some more information to that. So if you look at the situation today, every major organization, large company is showing this sense of helplessness and using that as a reason to fire or lay off people or furlough people and keep them at home with no salaries and creating stress. You have to understand that economies collapse when consumer confidence is low, and consumer confidence is low because they are fearful about their jobs. They are not having jobs, they have lost their jobs, they have lost half of their salary, they have lost most of their salary and all of that. Now the strange thing is that while in my previous video I did inform everybody that the banks are busy giving loans, and those loans, a majority of those loans are going to large companies, large corporations. These are the companies that pick up these huge loans. And then we've heard about a lot of these billionaires, right? So there's so many billionaires in the world, and I'm wondering, why do we have any economic issue or problem if there are so many people who are so rich? They're filthy rich. They're so rich that actually they don't know what to do with their money. So the United States has around 15 billionaires. 15 billionaires. And the total worth of these billionaires, 15 billionaires, 1-5, is $1 trillion. They're worth around $1 trillion. Now let's just assume that 10% of that trillion is cash. So you're talking about $100 billion. $100 billion. And if you calculate just 1% of that 100 billion, you're talking about $1 billion, right? $1 billion. India, which is going through a very large economic crisis with the migrant workers dying on the roads, trying to get to their villages, etc. India has 50 billionaires just in the city of Mumbai. 50 billionaires in the city of Mumbai. If you calculate the total worth of billionaires in India, they are worth around $385 billion. $385 billion worth of billionaires sitting in India. Again, if we calculated 10% of that as cash money, you're talking about $38.5 billion. And if you took 1% from that 38.5, that would be $380 million. If you look at UK has around 50 billionaires, and all of them put together are worth around $160 billion. And again, if you calculated 10% of that as cash and 1% from that 10%, it comes to around 160 million. Now, let me use the India example. And this is where I'm getting at. So why is it that governments don't have specific rules for crises? So why don't the governments have a law that says when crisis hits and the country is about to collapse because of an economic reason, why not launch a tax for the super wealthy? Rather than furloughing employees and firing people and trying to create a ruckus in society and an economy, why not create a new tax? And that tax, in my view, should be 1% of their cash worth in the bank. And that 1%, trust you me, will save economy, will save society. And it's fair, because at the end of the day, the amount that has been created with these billionaires, with these super wealthy people, is lying there anyways. So at a moment of crisis, why not launch such a law in each country in the world? Why should a country collapse and a majority suffer just while a few people are completely comfortable, completely happy? This is one of my suggestions, that there should be a new tax that is implemented on the super wealthy in the event of a large crisis. Number two, the way companies receive loans from banks has to change. So, when you look at these famous wealthy people trying to declare bankruptcy and claiming I am worth nothing now, these are the same people who fly in private helicopters, who have huge yachts, who have massive mansions and so many apartments and all of that. They have 50 people probably working in their kitchen. So why not change the rule now that we've understood that economy hits hard and hits really, really bad for the common man? Why not set new conditions to taking loans? And one of these new conditions is as follows. If any company, large company, which has more than 1,000 employees, applies for a loan, the bank has to look at their revenue cash flow and to see whether they're making enough profit, number one. Number two, they have to have specific warranties and guarantees that that company has provision for at least 12 months basic salary for all their employees, that provision should be there. And number three, that the amount of profit that the company makes will decide how much loan they can apply for. And this is followed in the English Premier League, where large wealthy football club owners were buying players left, right and center, and the clubs were making huge losses. So they launched the fair play rule, and the fair play rule says that you can only buy players to the amount of money that you have made in the last season. Why not banks follow this? Why not banks follow the fair business rule, which is if you have made profit, you are now liable to apply for a loan equivalent to that profit. If the owner of the business wants more money, then let the owner put personal guarantees as a collateral to get more money. And in the event if that company goes bust, and this wealthy businessman who owns yachts and planes and helicopters declares bankruptcy, then the first people who have rights to that money, that sale of asset money, is the employees, not creditors. And this is where the system is wrong. I don't think creditors should receive the money first. It should first go to the employees, because if you don't save the employees, you can't save economy. Creditors have to come second. Employees have to come first. Let the employees get their rights. Once they get their rights to the term of their contract, 12 months or so, you can work out the system around that. But if the company goes bankrupt, the sale of the asset, the returns of that sale, the first right to that return should be the employees. As per their basic salaries, they should be paid, and then the creditors have the right to take over. We have to change the way we are doing business. We have to change the way the rules are set. The rules are clearly set for a few people to be happy or benefit. The rules are clearly set for a large number of people to potentially suffer or go down the tube. We have to change those rules. We have to find a way to bargain so that regular employees, so that daily wage workers, so that migrant workers, so that unskilled and semi-skilled workers are saved. We have to look at this from a human standpoint. We can't be creating economies only for the wealthy and the super rich. We have to create economies for people. We have to create economies for households. We have to create economies for progressions of societies. We can't be adding to wealth of the super rich every time. This is not only about the stock market. The world does not invest in the stock market. A few people invest in stock market. So stock markets are not a reflection of what economy is. A reflection of economy is regular people. And those regular people have suffered today. So this is a good time to change the rule. This is a good time to launch attacks in the event of such crisis, God forbid, take place in the future, to the super wealthy, so that that money can be used by the government for people. This is a time to change the rules of how loans are given, so that if you don't subject a business owner to behave and discipline himself, he will always go bankrupt. He's most likely to go bankrupt because he's getting money and he just wants to use it without having a firm plan, etc. So the banks have to play bigger roles, the regulators have to play bigger roles, and government and policymakers have to play a much, much bigger role. I think it's time for change, and I think it's time to change some of these rules. I hope you like this video, and do share with me your opinions.